All right. Good morning slash afternoon slash evening, everybody. We are in our third week of beginning drawing, and we're going to be working on drawing cups today. And there's a whole series that we're going to go through on this. I'm not even sure if we're going to be able to finish today. But I think this is the first most important visual to see. If you look at this pencil on the mouth of this cup, where is this pencil sitting? Is it sitting farther away from us, closer to us? Where is it sitting on the cup? I guess that's the answer. The question is to you, Leela.
In the middle of the cup?
What's that?
In the middle of the cup?
Ooh, so you must know the answer to this question. Yes, but it doesn't look like it, does it?
No.
Looks like this area is bigger and this area is smaller, but you're absolutely right. If you look here, right over the edge, that is the middle of the cup. So the question becomes, how do I draw that? Right? So how do you draw that? Intellectually, what's happening there? That's a perspective question that we're going to be paying attention to along with shading. Did you just know that, or did you guess it? Oh,
Sorry, no, it's just logical that you would put it in the center of the cup.
but it didn't look like it, did it?
It didn't look like it, no. But if I were to guess, I would say it's probably the center. Not because of
It's
the way it
logical.
necessarily looked, but because it's
That is
I don't know.
interesting. No, I'm curious to know why. Like that, I've never heard. Like you're right. Nobody ever answers the question that way, and that you think it's logical is interesting to me. So maybe it's because I left out the words in the center, which is why you were like, I am tricky and I figured it out. You might have also seen the pencil kind of lining up with the center of the handle. That's often a cool. So the question becomes, and I'm going to pop this up here to talk about this for a second. In art, the challenge is we draw what we, hold on. We draw what we see, right? Not what we think is happening. Well, unless you understand, right? What we think is happening based on what we see, it's not exactly what's happening. So yes, that cup, even though it's divided in the center, and one of the hardest things people have to do, and I'm just going to sketch this. You guys don't have to sketch this with me. Most people will sketch a mouth of a cup like this, right? With a very wide rim. You're going to assume that when we look at it, this is exactly halfway. And furthermore, that when this cup is sitting down, it's sitting on a flat surface. You see how that's intellectually, conceptually, verbally, conceptually, these things are true. But visually, spatially, this doesn't work. So what's really happening? What's really happening is you're seeing both halves of the cup, the whole thing, both halves. But the half that's going away from us is smaller and narrower. It's less wide, so it's a little bit more. They have a different shape because it's going halfway through. So it's a little bit more, and it's a little bit flatter. So it's a little bit more like this. And this is usually a little narrower. Right, so this are equal halves, but they don't look the same when you draw them. The other thing that's happening is that we are also seeing the side of the cup, the sides of the cup, as well as the front of the cup, right? This is about the front of the cup. This is the side. As we learned last week when we were drawing our spheres, right? These guys. When we learned last week when we drew this, these are, each time there's a shift in value, there's a shift in plane. That means there's a shift inside because the light changes. But it's harder to mark in a rounded surface. So we use, right, this is what it looks like. So when you draw a cup, you need to draw the edges kind of up. You need to draw this back edge narrow. this front edge kind of wider. It actually kind of comes out a little bit more. It has an entirely different shape. And then you need to draw these things up. It's the same principle. And I'm not going to yammer at you too much about this. I just thought it would be helpful for you to know, right as this, the road going away. On a flat surface, we know intellectually that this side is the same size as this side, right? We also know that the road is flat on the ground. It doesn't rise up in the air. It's not like this road is a ladder, right? It's laying flat on the ground. But the way our eye and our brain kind of sort this for us to help us see when things are farther away is something called cone vision, right? So as things go away from us, they appear to rise up and they get narrower. Things that are the same size here will look narrower here. And that's more extreme when you're drawing because you're translating a flat surface. So you can't, right? So the angles are more extreme than they think we should be. So does anybody have questions about that? Does that make sense? Is that helpful? Yeah, it solves a lot of things. So we're going to start. Put this out of the way. I have all your lessons in order on my wall so I can remember what I taught last time. We're going to start with how to shade an open cylinder, right? If the light is coming from the left. So that starts with drawing the open cylinder. Starts with two straight lines like this, and then kind of a curved line on the bottom like that. Can you all see this okay? You need me to bring it down a little bit? Yeah, okay. And then it's kind of a wider, rounder circle on the bottom, like that. And if you want to, you can even lightly sketch in a line here to show your halfway point. I've very lightly done it. I'll take it out after we're done. And then the top kind of starts off a little bit like your road. Two little angled lines and then a straight line connecting them. I'm going to bring this lower. I'm going to make this just a little bit. So here's the first, like, I know this side has to be narrower. So I want to make sure. So this is kind of broken up into three straight lines. If I don't teach you anything else today, I think that this is going to be the most helpful thing. I'm going to take a picture of this and send it across so you can see it really quick. So give me just a spin. I'm going to turn off my phone. Where everybody is today. Yes, meow. You can see I have a finish session. I have a you can see on the thread what we're going towards today. There's a picture of it. I've got, yeah. So if the light is coming from this direction, right? Light. Here's how it hits this open cylinder. You can start by sketching in a little light lip. And I'll take a look at your cylinders in a minute once we get to this stage. And then back here, it's a little bit. Ugh, this is why I cannot stand pencil. Sorry, pencil. You're doing the best you can. I'm the one flummoxing it up. You are a fine, fine tool. So this is going to be a little bit narrower back here, a little bit wider here. I'm going to bring this down even closer so that you can see that. Yeah, I think you can see that pretty well. And the light on the outside of the cylinder goes from, let's see. I'm going to take a look at what you just sent me, Ani. Give me a second. Not bad, Ani. It looks pretty good.
Thank you.
If you want to send yours over, Leela, please do. Right? It's going to be lightest on the outside here. And then as we start to turn around, it goes from medium to dark. And then remember, there's that little light reflected edge. Just like with a rounded subject. Let's see. I like just having my two superstars here. Yeah. Can you, Leela, pull out? So let's see. This is a little too sharp on
Okay.
this side. Can you round it out a little bit more to the left here
Okay.
and to the right here? You see how it's so pointed?
Yeah.
Really, the back is cut into 3 lines. Really, the front is kind of rounder and comes more to the edge.
Okay.
So I'll sketch in this is what I see happening, particularly on this side. This is a super hard thing to do, right? That's what's happening here, and you want to kind of round it out. It's happening a little bit here on this side. This lip will be light. Go ahead and correct that before we go any further. Yeah, so the whole concept of this front half is completely different than the back. It's such a different shape. It's like they could be 2 separate things. And yet intellectually, we know they are the same. Talk about it's weird. Talk about a strange occurrence. Why did you do that? Hi, Bombi.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
It's okay. You'll really want to review the first section of this video because we talked about how to draw a cylinder. I'm going to review it again while these guys are finishing. Instead of drawing a cup like this, right, which is really just a cylinder with a very wide mouth and a straight bottom, what we learned is that the front half of, although these are equal halves, they don't look equal on both sides because, so this half looks more like this. And this half is kind of more rounded in the front. And also, the sides of the cup, even though they're sitting on a flat surface, appear to be, they curve up on the edge. Because really this is the front of the cup and these are the sides of the cup. So when you're sketching your cylinder, you start with 2 straight lines. And the bottom is a curved line. I'm going to take a look at yours. Go ahead and get that going, Bonby, while I look at Leela's. Terrific. Perfect, Leela. Beautiful. All right. I'm going to quickly show Bobby how to do this, and Bobby, you're just going to catch up while we go forward. Your front is going to be a curved line that really is rounded and goes all the way to the edge. We're going to draw a little dotted line here to show the back half. Your back half is going to be more sharply angled. So it's like, and it's going to be, so it's like 3 lines that go straight across like this. And it's going to be thinner than here, like not as wide from top to bottom. Okay. So once you've added your lip in, we've got light, we've got light. The inside of the cylinder plays a different role. It acts differently. So while the light is lightest on this side, on the inside of the cylinder, this side is darkest. This side is light. Anybody imagine why is that? Why is that? Why aren't these areas both light on the light side?
Because you're trying to shape it with shadow. And so
Yeah, but why is it not lighter on these sides? why is
because
that
it's
not happening?
because it's in a shadow, because the light is coming from the opposite side.
No, the light's coming from this side.
But
Inside this cup here,
it's hitting the outside.
it's hitting
which
the
creates
opposite side.
a
Thank you.
shadow.
You got it. You got it. Excellent. Excellent. So, and I'm sorry, I'm making you kind of go through the specifics of explaining it because I need you to understand literally what's happening. So, because this inside of the cup is in a different plane than this side of the cup or this side of the cup, right? It's different plane. The light actually comes all the way in here and bounces off this side. So inside the cup, it's lighter on the opposite side. And outside the cup, it's lighter on the same side. It's a very helpful thing to know, right? Because I don't think these are the kinds of things we pick up intellectually unless you can see them happening. So when you're starting to do your sketching, your dark, your medium, and your light, you can start by kind of sketching in a dark halftone here, half a dark tone, which gets a little bit lighter as it gets to the center. And then it stops. So you want it a little bit, and you want to keep your lip, well, because your lip is facing up, that also is lighter all the way around. Right? But this is darker, this is lighter. And then on this side, you can do a medium. Turns into a dark when it gets here. And then here is kind of like a light. It's like a medium again. I want to make this heavy. This little reflected edge right before we turn around in the darkest area. Sometimes you can get it by darkening it and then running your eraser. Show 1, 2, 3, 4 shifts in value. And the light coming from this side means that your shadow is going to go this way. You can also lighten your table kind of more lightly. Obviously, your shadow is going to be dark. Your wall can be a little darker too. So I'll send this across. It's also, you also have it in its final form, but you can have my funny, gnarly little sketch as well. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I mean, I want you guys to spend as much time as you need to make a good drawing.
I have a question. The shadow in the inside of the cylinder, is the shadow from light to dark, that kind of gradient, is it straight, that line straight, or is it slightly bent? How do you usually do it?
You get to decide how to convey it, right? So you have options there. I did mine I kind of rounded it slightly around the edge of the cup, but there's a lot of ways to do it. So do it the way you think it looks the most, kind of following the edge of the object. Good questions. See all these extras. Bondy, when you get the shape of your cylinder before you start doing shading, I want you to send it to me so I can take a look at it. Okay? Because the hardest part is drawing this mouth, and I want to make sure that simple test. And at some point when these guys are working on something, I'm going to show you. I'll show you the little test I gave to Leela this morning. Onyx had it so many times. Leela nailed it. I still can't figure out how, but I'm not arguing with it. I like, wow, how did she figure that out? You know what's funny? I think what's interesting is we have more visual knowledge than we think, but we don't really have the language to explain it, right? So when you were going, it's where the shading is, and I knew you knew what you wanted to say, right? Here's what's really interesting. If I show this to anybody, even somebody who's never taken a drawing class, and I ask them what the direction the light's coming from, they can almost always tell me. But when I ask them to tell me why, they can't explain why. Right? Which is that the light is actually lightest closest to this object is lightest closest to the light. It's like that little one step is missing. And so a lot of what I try to do is, because I was a former journalist, and I did this for a while, is I try to feed that side, right? Like I try to explain with words, which a lot of artists aren't really used to doing. But because I did that for so long, I'm like kind of obsessed with trying to explain these concepts. They are sometimes very hard to explain, particularly involving, it's hard to find the right words. And in fact, sometimes I find myself making words up. One day we're going to get to a point where we're going to do something I call rectangulating. It is not a word, but like triangulating is a word. Rectangulating is not a word, but when you see it, you'll be like, that's the only word we can use to describe this process. So sometimes we need to invent a little bit. It's not like language doesn't change all the time anyways. So every language is dynamic. Yes. So when I'm pushing you, I'm only trying to get you to get the words right? To be able to say, oh, this is why. But you probably know why. On some level, your brain knows why.
I mean, you've already taught me a new word today, rectangulate.
Rectangulate, wait till you see it. I'm not gonna throw it out to you today, but it's very, very funny. All right. Bonvi, really good job. The only thing I'm gonna say, I love everything about this. Your line on this side is leaning a little bit in. Do you see that? Can you, so what I would do, let's see, you've got, let me show you really quickly. You've got, it's kind of leaning in. I'm going to dramatize it so you can see it. I'm not trying to say it looks this. So this line is straight up and down, but this one's leaning in a little bit. So if I were you, I'd just trim that there. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's why I always also have the demo camera, because even trying to explain that in words is a really difficult thing to explain in words. It's a lot easier to show it. Trim it a little bit to the right, but even that doesn't really explain it as well as demonstrating it does. Yesterday, I had a total kerfuffle with my phone, and it stopped using Zoom, which is how I do the demos. And it was like completely in the middle of class. I got it fixed eventually. I was like, how do I like show this? And also, how do I figure out how to fix it while I'm trying to demo it and I'm trying to get everybody going? We did make it happen. We did make it happen. The video is a little ridiculous, but yeah, so now you erase this outside, right? That's your edge. This becomes your edge. So now you need to give yourself a line around the top, right? Give yourself this little light rim. It's a little bit wider in the front. It's a little bit narrower and thinner in the back. And then you can start shading. And then, yeah, I think we'll totally have time to do this coffee cup today. By the way, I'm just going to have you guys do the coffee cup. I'm not going to have you do the saucer. The saucer is a mind-bending piece of nightmare. But I'm not going to do that today. But I love the look of this coffee cup so much that I wanted to do it. So I'm even going to here. I'm going to even just to make sure. I mean, if you want to, you can attempt it, but that's something we don't really want to talk about. This is going through its own perspective and it's super hard here. So on this, version, I'm getting, you're not even doing that. This disappears. None of this. We're just going to do the handle and the cup. I'll draw that. When we start drawing this, I'll give you some sketches in different colors so this isn't so distracting. For those of you who want to try it, I will put the photo on and you can on your own try it, but the plate is just a gnarly little piece of work. The perspective there is discouraging because it's a lot harder than the perspective of something sitting up right, like this cup. In fact, let me do that right now. Also, Leela very nicely shared the Zoom link to this class. So if you ever lose it, it's you can find it in the thread. Oops, sorry. Take a look at that. You can also find it in the intro thing I sent you. So Bobby, yeah, that looks great. Do you see that you're still not quite straight here? Do you see that you should be totally straight up and down? You're straight on the one side, but you're leaning on this side still. So bring it in a little bit more to the left. I want this line to be straight. So you need to kind of, so correct that and then we'll go. These kind of little things seem very nitpicky. I'm not trying to be nitpicky, and I'm not trying to say you're doing a bad job. You're doing a fine job. I'm wanting you to notice that a little millimeter really looks off in a drawing. And straight up and down is really straight up and down, but it's not as simple as you think. I had a student once who could not get the concept of a vertical line up and down. She got the idea of a straight line. I would tell her, draw straight lines up and down. Like when you're, let's see, drawing a road and then you're drawing a fence, right? The fence posts all go to the same point. The fence, the horizontal lines, but these need to go vertically straight up and down. She couldn't draw it. She kept drawing them like this. Right, that's like it was really hard. And what that taught me is for people who aren't used to being in right brain, straight up and down, this is a straight line, but straight up and down, like straight, literally straight up and down. This is straight up and down. That's not straight up and down. Let's see. But you'll get caught up in your drawing. It's easy to get caught up in the drawing. There you go. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. A+. All right. So go ahead and add your darks on this side to your medium here. Let me take a picture of this up close, although you have a picture of how it's supposed to look in the thread already. So I will forward that down first. And then I'll send you my version. Oh yeah, that's looking great, Anik. Or you can look at Anik's version. Very nice. I also really like your lost edges.
Thank you.
Let me pop this up so I can show it. So this is what you're kind of going for. Is this helpful, Anik? Once again?
Yeah, I just, when I was taking a picture, I was thinking like, I should dig out the ones that I did in the previous years.
Yeah,
To just
it
compare.
is like so hard, isn't it? So one of the things I want to talk about here is not only do I really like, so Leah, you can look at how she's doing her mark making. Yours doesn't have to look like this. There's a lot of ways to do it. I love this little reflected light edge, but I really love how how it kind of disappears over here in a couple places, and even down here a little bit, and down here, and nowhere else because we've got these strong white edges. But this is really nice. Nice. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'm gonna there's mine. Mine looks really like half you know what by comparison. Sorry. If you can see my paintings, they look way better. I think this makes the point. So when you're finished, send it over, and then we'll talk about how to sketch out this cup, which I'm going to put in front of you here. And that's what we'll be working on for the rest of this. Are you okay hanging out just a minute, Anik?
Sure. I'm just having here like another conversation aside because the little one is working on something of his own.
Ah, nice. Not so little anymore.
He's
Anik,
never been little.
do you guys do art together? Is he working on art? Is that what you guys are doing?
He's doing like a card for his grandma and grandpa
Oh,
because we had like the grandparents' days last week in Poland, so he's working on that. And
oh, cool. So you guys are both doing art.
in a way, yeah,
It's been off and on over the years.
yeah,
Because
off
what
and
Anik
on.
is doing is was a little hard for him when he was younger.
Yes,
Frustrating. And too frustrating.
originally.
So like he comes in and out, but often gets very bored by my pedantic talking about forcing you to describe what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically being impatient, like 7-year-old, literally, because
It's exactly his age. It's
yeah,
every
exactly.
7-year-old in some way is like it. Or every 7-year-old has
Yeah.
gone through this phase.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I sent you the stages of development for
Yeah.
manual? Yeah, it's
Exactly.
absolute and mental, like being able to mentally hold a concept is in your head is a very different thing than having to understand a concept and then make another part of your body do
Yeah.
it. That
Oh,
is an
yeah.
entirely different thing. Like learning to ride a bike. However, the nice
Yep.
thing, these skills is that once you get them, so he's right in the middle of finding, sometimes he has the stamina and sometimes he doesn't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No, enjoy it. This is supposed to be relaxing, and on some level, this is supposed to be relaxing and fun.
Well, when you do it for the 5th time, it is really.
Yes, great. Take a look. So what I'm
Because
trying to do here, which I've never really, very beautiful shading, Leela, lovely, lovely, love it. Can you get in your little cast shadow going off in this direction? Here, hold on, there's my, can you get your cast shadow in here too? There. Gorgeous.
I didn't see
And
that at all. Okay, cool. Yes.
your cast shadow, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. There we go. So, and that means this has to be just kind of a slightly lighter shaded in area. Let's put what I'm doing this year, which I've never really done before. I love this exercise, and I used to have people just do the whole exercise in a class. I'm now breaking it up and trying to relate it to a real subject so you can understand why how this theory translates to practice. So in about 5 minutes, 4 minutes maybe, I'll start talking to you about how to structure this real subject as opposed to this hypothetical. This is a real subject, but it's not something we're looking at. Now we'll see how this plays. Also, the lighting is a little bit slightly different here. So you'll be able to use you guys will be able to use your words to talk about it. It's interesting. The lighting is a little bit different. So we can talk about what's going on.
I have a question. In the cylinder with the refracted light, how sharp is that division between light and dark?
So you mean here and here? Do you mean
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
It's soft.
Okay.
Just so it's a little tricky, right? It's a soft edge, right? Everything's soft. It's hard on this side,
Yes, yes.
right? And it's soft on this side. Just like kind of the transition between here and here. It'll be softer. Meaning we won't see a strong edge. The nice thing about a cup is it has a lot of structure. Nice, by the way, very nice shading. I like that everybody's doing it a little bit differently. And Bobby, don't worry, you're about to be given time to catch up. So just keep going. Stop when I'm giving instruction just to see what you're going to do. And then we'll have a whole hour to keep working on both of these subjects. So you'll catch up. We'll catch you up. I remember from this exercise, my favorite thing about it was learning about how the light went differently in an open subject. Also, the reflected edge fascinates me. I love the idea of the reflected edge. That is not something I would ever have noticed on my own. And I use that all the time in my painting. Knowing that there's a reflected edge in the darkest side does everything for does everything in terms of offering with I'm a big believer in what are the lines that are necessary and what are the shapes that are not. And that's one of those shapes that if, even though it's small and distinct, it can push your painting to the next level and people think you're a magician and you're like, it's a parlor trick. You just need to know the trick, where to focus. They can't figure out what's going on, but something is happening.
Could I ask, where are the disappearing edges in
There's not as many really here
okay,
because
Okay.
there's a whole edge, but you could have one like here.
at the bottom? Yeah.
Mhm,
Okay.
here. You could have one here. That would be a
Okay.
nice weird place to put one. This cup has all these distinct, right, sharp lines. Here, there won't be one. Right. Yeah. Because of this edge particularly, it kind of blocks, but definitely here you might have one. Yeah. Good questions. Yeah, lost edges are also a fun thing to talk about. All right. 2 more minutes, and then we're going to move. I'm going to start walking you through the first steps of doing the cup. So, beginning drawing only goes for 6 sessions total. And I have 6 more class hours, class units I can add on to spring. I was originally thinking about either repeating beginning drawing or I also have a beginning watercolor course, or repeating that, or putting in 3 more sessions for each, extending beginning drawing for 3 more sessions and extending beginning watercolor on Fridays for 3 more sessions. So you guys should think about what you'd like to do, what you'd like to see. I'm kind of open how we use those class hours. It's just thoughts. All right. Okay. So whatever you're doing, go ahead and stop for just a second. I'll have you look up and watch. how we're going to start to sketch in this cup. And of course, my first question is, I'm going to ask very specifically, what direction is the light coming from?
Is it coming from the right?
It's coming from the right. Is it coming from the side right?
Yeah.
No.
Actually, back right.
Back, it's coming from the back right. Good job, right? So look at the difference in the way, so it's absolutely coming from this direction, but it's not the kind of traditional direction that we've been looking at. It's kind of more over here. And how can I tell that? Because a lot more of the cup is shaded, right? So this light edge is fairly small compared to the light edge on here. Can you see that? So the light, sorry, here we go. Yes. The light edge here is pretty small compared to the light edge here, which means that it's kind of moved around. Good job, Bobby. Great. Excellent. Okay, so when we start to sketch, we're going to start with the shape of the cup. And then we'll add in the handle and all the other things going on. And just to remind you, this is probably probably about there. This is probably, dang it. Here, let me use a ruler. There we go. Tools, right? This is probably the exact middle of the cup. So here's the back. Here's the back half. And here's the front half. I'll send this across so you can see a picture of it. So, and let me do it for you. Let me also start by doing it for you. So I'm going to start with 2 straight lines. Now the question is that go kind of like this. And then, oh no, that's not what's happening. Start that over again. I'm going to start with a straight line that's like this, kind of shorter. This is happening. That's what's happening. Can you see that? I'm just showing you where the transitions are. And if you want to make sure this cup is proportional, the other thing I can do is I can check the width. Let's say this line. Look at what I do here. So I'm marking my pencil on the edge here of the source, and this is the edge of one side, and this is where my thumb is where the edge of the other side is. I can actually use it to compare. If it's this wide, it should be this tall. So what this tells me is from here to here, this should be the same height.
Please repeat
what I
that.
can,
Please repeat
what?
that. Please
Yes.
repeat.
Yes. So I'm going to measure on my source. I'm going to sketch this in so you can see this. I'm going to measure this middle distance here, which is kind of where the front side of the cup, right? This distance from here to here. I'm going to measure this, and proportionally, I'm going to see where this height, if I bring it to the height of the cup, here I'm at the bottom here, how high it comes up. So what can you see when you see me compare the width of the cup to the height of the cup? What's the
But
measurement
it's
that you
not the
see?
full height, it's the height of the cup to that center line. Is that it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So now let me check mine. Okay, I'll show you how to check. I'm going to check mine. So I've got this here. I'm going to check it here on my center line. I'm going to check it here. Yeah, so you can see my cup is a little bit too short. Can you see that? So I'm fixing it by bringing it up a little higher. Wow. I'm going to go across here. And yes, that is now the correct height. That is what we call proportional measuring. It's a bear. Once I've got that, then I can add my back edge. And this wider. front edge.
How much wider is the that circle? How much wider is the bottom circle, the bottom part of the circle compared to the top part of the circle? Is it
I can see that this tool is going to be
twice?
really helpful. Let's see. Let's see. So
One
I'm
and a
going to
bit?
measure the top, right? From here to here. I'm trying to measure it so you can see it with me. So it's basically the length of this
Of the
metal part.
eraser? Yeah. So it's like
Just
one
a
and a bit.
little bit shorter. Just a little bit longer. So let's see. I'll come here. Yeah, that's about right. Just a teeny bit, not half. But yeah, excellent way to, and you can do that. So here's the key, Leela, to using this technique. This measurement is always where you start, right? So when you go to, you can use this and this, right? Because they are, they're connected to this line. But for the most part, if you're going to measure anything, you want to start with this and compare it. You can also say, what's half the distance, right? So you can find out the half distance of this and use that to see how far up does that halfway go. But you always want to start with this because this is the line that we have established. So honestly, actually, let me start this drawing over again. If you want to be more accurate from the beginning and not correct like I did, you can start with this line and just make it any length that you want. And then I come here and mark the bottom. See that? So you can go through much less trouble than I did by starting with that middle line. And it doesn't matter how big you make this. You don't have to make it the same size as this. You can make it bigger or smaller, depending on, but it's just a proportion thing. Proportions is everything in measurement. And it's often intellectually, although like I said, Leela, I can tell from the questions you're asking, you're not only grasping it, you're taking it 3 steps ahead about what it can do for you. This proportional measurement is kind of the hardest thing to teach because it's the hardest thing to wrap your mind around. So you could say, you could do it this way, you could kind of guess, then check, or you could just establish your line first and then use that to establish your bottom. And then at least you have your width and your height. And this is a tricky thing for people to wrap their mind around, though, because this length, I'm not saying exactly measure this to here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're going to understand how the proportions work. So if this proportion is like this, then whatever distance you set this, the proportions will work the same. And that's how you make things bigger or smaller. So let's get that. When you guys think you have that, oh my God, quickly becoming not a beginning drawing class and moving into something much, much more advanced. I like it. I like it. There's a lot of concepts in here. And I like seeing how you guys are capturing them. Getting them early, right, Anik? Getting them early is like key. How many times have you watched me fight with people about this? Like, well,
I lost count.
yeah, I fight
Uh,
with people about this all the
but
time.
honestly
I'm always
saying,
like, nope, that one's not right. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? So really, the general principle is you
Yeah.
decide the width and the vertical distance. You could
Mhm.
also do it the other way, right? You could draw this line, your vertical distance first, and then use that to decide your,
Exactly.
right. You could use that to decide that. But it's key to establish one line,
Mhm.
the size and height that you want it, or the width of the height that you want it.
Yeah, and it's a kind of thing that helps a lot with many things later on also. But I
We'll
get,
return to this over and over again.
Yeah,
People
and
hate me for it. And the reason they hate
Oh,
me is that here's why. I'll tell you, I mean, they don't hate me. They resent the way this
the
is done
concept, yeah.
because we don't think like this naturally.
Mm-mm.
You have to be taught to think like this. No one teaches
It's
themselves to
true.
draw that way. No one.
That's true.
Not one person have I ever met has taught themselves to draw this way without learning it. It makes a lot of sense logically once you're shown it, but it absolutely makes no sense in the beginning.
Awesome. Plus, this is very simple object, the object that we see every day, honestly. And applying all those principles to exactly this is just basically mind binding
It's
exercise.
mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's
So Lilo,
I'm teaching you everything about the reality. And
yes,
it's one of the most difficult things to draw, to be honest. The
yes,
cup of coffee or cup of tea. Hi,
yeah,
Sandra.
it really is. You almost
Hi,
have it,
guys.
almost have it. What you've done is drawn your line straight down here, right? And actually, there's a more dramatic shift before that. Can you see it? I'm gonna really highlight it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there, and then it curves in. But
Okay.
exactly, your proportions are perfect. And don't you feel better now? Because your proportions are great. And anything that you do, you found out the outside edges of the object. This is the thing that I think is the most logical of all, and nobody gets it, right? You don't teach yourself that. Is that before you get involved in any detail, find out the width and the height of what you're drawing. Find out the proportional width and height. Find out the outside shape of what you're drawing before you get into any detail. That's not how people teach themselves to draw. It's fascinating how much it's not. Hi, Sandra. Nice to see you.
Hi, Leah. Hi, guys. Sorry, I lost something
Hi.
behind my drawers.
That's all right. I'm checking your proportions look good, Anik. Yeah. It's a little bit Anik squarer, and this line is not straight. It's
Mhm.
also curved.
Yeah, it is. Try.
Yeah. So you jumped ahead and
Tiny
notice what
bit.
happened. Even though we were intellectually discussing this, you still missed it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So it's really slightly, and I think your line is coming in a little bit too much. So
Mhm.
Right. So really square that out.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too rounded, but you're getting there, almost there. Here's another thing that we can do. Let's see.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah,
said it's
Leela, that
difficult.
looks good. Okay. So here's another thing that we can do that can help us as we're trying to figure out kind of where things are. So the first thing we can see is that if I draw a line down here, I can find its halfway point. How do I do that? I do that very simply. I'm not going to use a ruler. I'm going to actually check it with my pencil. I'm going to guess. I think my halfway point is about here. Here. Mark that in red. On my halfway point here. And now I'm going to check it and see if I line up my bottom of my pencil to here, and then I bring it up and line up the bottom of my pencil to here, are they exactly the same length? Oh, look, they are. Right? So I can come down here. Let me know if I need to repeat that. I am going to find the halfway point, not by measuring with numbers and rulers, because somehow that always seems to go wrong for people. But I'm visually checking the spatial distance of this. So I'm drawing in a bunch of lines I have to get rid of, but I think it's helpful. So I'm going to guess, I'm going to try it this way. That looks like the halfway point to me. And what I can see is that this halfway point is at the line for the bottom of the cup. I'll take a look at that in just a second, Bobby. You got it. I can see that if this is the halfway point, I can see that my line for the bottom of the cup, or that sort of little ridge of the cup, starts about here. And if I go straight across here, I can see kind of that my shape of my handle, I can see a little bit where it starts and ends. So I'm going to actually start by drawing in this shape. If I come straight across here, I actually see that this is where, at the halfway point, this is where that starts. I can go out, out, and then probably, by the way, this is using negative space drawing. I'm actually drawing this shape. From here, it's easier for me to get the outer shape of my mug, my outer shape of my handle. So we can continue using these measurements that kind of help us figure out. That may be too wide. So what can I do? I can come over here and check. I could take my halfway point here and see, oh yes. So I definitely don't want my halfway point. I don't want my handle to go past my halfway point in width. Let's see how I did. Not too bad. So I think I have my halfway point kind of within the bounds. All right, let me take a look. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Perfect, Bombi. Perfect. Now, draw a line from here to here and find your halfway point. For me, that's here. It's also here. And that'll help you find some other key lines. Good job, you guys. Isn't it awesome, actually? I mean, what's actually amazing about this is that it makes drawing so much easier if you can wrap your head around it. The problem is most people don't want to change the way they think about drawing. And that is where the struggle comes in. But as a construction model, this is what we're using to kind of help where things are. Let's see. Can you send that again, honey? It won't let me open it on my computer. Ah, perfect. So, excellent on everything, except I want you to notice that you put this line up here at the halfway point, and this line comes below. Can you see that? You put your line right here at the halfway point.
Okay, and so I
This line
need a
comes
line
below.
a bit lower.
Yeah,
Okay,
and it's also a little bit more rounded, right?
okay.
Than you think. And then notice that that will change the handle of your cup.
Okay.
So you want to erase your handle and start over again. Also notice the kind of, on mine, how I'm instead of doing curved lines, I'm kind of breaking up the curve into a series of straight lines that kind of run into each other. That's going to help you get the real shape of this than trying to draw a skinny line. This is actually quite thick down here. You're doing great though. These are great.
I have a question about the bottom of the cup. Does
Mhm.
the shape of the bottom, the half circle of the bottom of the cup, is it the same as, is it mirroring the lip that we see on
You mean
the
here?
top? Yeah.
But you know
okay.
what? Yeah, it's straight, right? This part is straight. This very
Oh, I
part.
see. So it
Or
shouldn't,
there's no
that middle
curve.
part shouldn't be curved. Okay.
No, it should be straight across. Excellent observation. It curves on either side. But this part is straight. Yes, it does. Because this is the front of the cup, right? So all of this here, I'm just destroying this drawing, this source for you. This is straight. This is like starting to curve up here. This is why I often break out my curves and then later add the gentle curve in.
So should
Because-
my lip be straight as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, from here to here, from about here to here. From about here to here. I mean, it'll be slightly, because I'm just looking at it. Let's see. There's like an infinitesimal curve happening. So small because you're looking at this from a slightly different angle than you are at that. But for the most part, it's a teeny tiny little curve, but it's going to serve you. It's so small that it will serve you more to draw it straight from
I'm
about
sorry
here.
to say this, but this fucking cup. And we're like, we've just started. And I'm like,
Yeah,
this
well,
fucking
you're
cup.
asking, you asked the problem is you asked the questions, like the right questions. That looks great, Anik. That looks good. So Anik, go ahead and start. Look at, the only thing I want you to see, Anik, is look at this relationship,
Yeah, here. Mhm.
right? You've curved it too much.
Yes. Right.
The reason, Leela, is that you have actually asked the questions to push you further into understanding this theory. So if your mind's, it's not really the cup, it's the theory that's that feels challenging, right? Because it's a lot of concentration and a lot of practice, but you're there, you're totally in it, and I love it. Ooh, Bobby, good. I'm gonna check one thing. Good, excellent. No. Yes, wait, one. Oh, yes, yes. No, okay, so Bombi, here's where you got stuck. Almost correct. This little star is the halfway point. Yours is the dot up there. So you put a dot for your halfway point, and then you put a star underneath, and then you put your curved line underneath that. Do you see what I'm saying? So the halfway point is here. The curved line goes here. Goes underneath the halfway point. Okay. Do you see what you did? Yeah, just and it's because I didn't have it up here, to be fair. I'll be fair here. Let me be fair. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this fucking cup, isn't there?
Fucking cup.
Sorry, I don't mean to be laughing. It's just exactly right. This is why all these are marked not for children, although God knows what Ani's kid has picked up over the years. Let's see. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, whatever you're saying. Let's see. Your halfway point is yep. 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 So the only correction you need to make, Leela, and it's a very small one, is so come to your halfway point line, right? Your mark right here.
Got it?
Goes straight across to the left.
Yeah.
This is where the top of the handle goes, and here
Okay.
is the bottom. See that?
Okay.
That's the only thing. And then you'll slightly shift this a little bit. Perfect. You got it.
Okay.
You guys got it. It may be a fucking cup, but you guys got it. Now, I'm actually going to print this out again because I feel like I've marked it up so much. It may be hard to see some of the shadows. So let me quickly do that. I've often had to do that in class. What you'll find after a while is that this is a whole logical system, right? It's like how to draw a building or how to construct, how to put together an IKEA piece of furniture, right? You can't really do the one, I mean, if you want to talk about fucking like things, that like putting together an IKEA piece of furniture is the nightmare, because if you miss one step, you're screwed, right? You have to follow all the steps to the logical conclusion. That's a little bit like this, but you guys are absolutely getting it. Absolutely getting it. So I want to just credit you right now by saying you got it. You've got this. And any corrections that we do from here on out, like I just noticed here that I think this side is a little too angled. When I look at the shape, I can kind of bring it out. It doesn't really impact, right? Because I've already got the basics flicked in there. Okay, so give me a second. I'm going to print out. Where are you? Coffee cup. Print. Okay. I'm going to print it again so you can see it without all the marks on it, so we can start looking at the lights and darks. Because now it should start getting fun. Oh, my paper. Once you've got that, you can sketch in, right, your little lip edge. I can see that my coffee line comes a little bit below the halfway point and curves this way like this, and this way like this. And then we've got our light edge. We've got a core dark here. Here. which goes into a medium. And then kind of like a 2. Kind of like a 2. So so if you have 5 values, this would be 1, this would be 4, this would be 3, and this would be 2. And then here's your reflected edge. That's 1. If you see anything else that looks like a 4, like your coffee, you can also get that in. You know, dark, super dark. And then here. I will mark this up in an entirely different way. Here is your lights, your dark. Because the light's coming from this direction, this is light and this is still light-ish, but the lightest part, of course, is here. And then you've got here, here, here. Neat little reflective lights here. Right, so this is a 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. This is 1, 4, like 2, 1. If you really want to get technical down here, because this cup has a shift in plane, this is also a 2 from here to here. But I don't care if you do. Right, this is 4. This is 5. 5. So let me send this across. Here, let me put this down so you can really see it. Can you guys see this well? Yeah, that's kind of where your shading is. Still following the rules, although we've shifted it a little bit into a more complex lighting, not the standard lighting situation. All right, somebody sent me something. So Bonvi, I want you to notice, I'm going to move this for just a second. Your cup doesn't, your handle goes down way too low. Your handle should be kind of here, near the top, but not exactly near that top edge. So you see how yours is way down here? And then this is the top of the handle, and this is the bottom of the handle. I'm going to send both of these over so you guys can see them. The top of the handle, the inside top, should line up with the halfway point on the left side. The bottom comes low. It's much thicker here, thinner here. So everything that you're doing, and this is the thing that, here, I'm going to turn off the camera for a second and take some pictures. Everything that you're doing is kind of related to the thing that's next to it. And that's the thing that feels at first difficult, but later becomes your savior once you get used to it. That is the intellectual phase I'm trying to push you. This is the logic system of drawing that I'm trying to push you towards. Hold on. I'll send that as well. Everything is related to the thing that it's next to. So when you're putting something down, you need to see where it lines up with the other things that you've already laid out. Don't worry about the handle right now. Really focus on the major cup itself. I'm like kind of naturally, this is my tendency is to go towards and it goes more like this. Is to go towards the darkest edges. So I'm not only, let's see, that there, there. So I'm just getting all those in first. Because to me, that helps me kind of stabilize where everything else is. Then I can get into lighter here. And as I lay down my 3 here, I see I have to get a little bit darker with my 4 here. Right? I don't really know that until I start laying down my 3. And then it's even lighter. It's like a 2. Then I can get in here. This requires some erasing. I got to get rid of some of my lines. And now I can see. This is a disappearing edge. Right here on this one right here. Catch it right back up. Here. I know that this is a 4, but this is a 5, so I'm getting it a little bit darker. This gets a little lighter. Here, and then becomes kind of a 2. Better, Bonvi. This is still thicker. Look at how thick this is. It's a little hard to see, so I'm sketching it in once again. The top of this here, handle is here, and the bottom is here. Can you see? It works like this. So this is much thicker than you've got it. Don't worry so much about the handle. Focus more on the cup. I think it's going to be useful for you guys to look at this, but I've sent over both across. And we have plenty of time, like 30 minutes. So, Sandra, do you have anything to show me? Have you gotten started?
No, I'm adding a tail to my snake
Okay, got it.
because
Whenever
there was
you're
a
ready.
tail in another photo and I really liked it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I didn't leave much room, so I had to make it short.
Snake, is it? Green?
Sorry?
What kind of snake is it?
Oh, I don't know, an Australian snake. I'll have to look up the name. Well,
Nice. Oh, okay, don't do it now. Work on your drawing now. We'll talk about that later.
it's very beautiful. I have pictures of either the same species or something very similar, but blue.
I'm going to point out one thing as you're going through this process of correcting and getting and then changing and recorrecting and correcting. I want you to try not to be too hard on yourself when you make a mistake, because I don't know if you've noticed, but I've made about 20 in the drawing I've done in front of you today. So I want you to know that there's no way to go through this process without making a couple mistakes. So the only thing for people who are really driven and I don't want to say perfectionist. I want to say who have high standards about how they do things. Just allow the mistakes to become part of the process. Don't be so hard on yourself when you make them. Because that will kill you and take all the joy out of this process. I had a student who used to, I loved it. We did figure drawing classes at her house, and she would say, "Look, I thought his arm was over here, but it's really here." Like you'd see the old marks at the end, and she did it with quite delight. Shoshana Blower was her name. She died recently, and actually, sadly, had a sort of really severe form of dementia that took her very brutally and kind of quickly, not quickly. It was bad. She was fantastic.
You taking away our Zen here.
Yes. Sorry, I just thought about her and had to share about her. She's a lovely lady. Life and death, it's all part of the process. Errors are part of the process. So try not to beat yourself up about everyone. Try to get, I can only get there by kind of grasping it, laying it down, and then looking at it. These are both across the thread now, so you can look at either one for structure and for lighting. Better, Bonvi. I want you not to worry so much about the yeah, don't worry so much about the handle right now. That looks great. The size of the handle is pretty much, we might do one or two more things, but right now it's good enough. Go ahead and add in your lip and start drawing your, so start with this, right? And drawing in your coffee and start doing your shading. Actually, could I put both of these up? It's probably better than looking at my drawing. There you go. There's a slight lightness here. That's actually the smoke from the cup coming up, but that's also not so important to capture unless you want to. Good corrections, Bombi, great ones. You guys are getting it. Excellent. You know what they say, it takes 10,000 mistakes to get kind of good at something. We're well on our way, people. Well on our way. Honestly, I am so used to laying it down and happy to fix it and futz with it and correct it. It's so much a part of the process. I've been doing this 25 years and I still make 30 mistakes before I even really get started on a serious painting. It's just, and you'll get so quick at fixing them that you'll understand. And sometimes you can avoid them, but most of the times you still make them. They're kind of part of the warming up and getting into right brain. We have a lot of people who I have a lot of people who say to me, I'm more right brain than left brain. And I'm like, well, you're telling me that, so I don't believe you. Left brain is telling me that. If you're trying to describe that visually without using words, then I might believe you. But left brain is really the dominant for any of us who talk, right? It's the dominant language. It's the dominant thinking system that kind of takes over our brains. So right, there's always a little bit of shuffle to get left out of the way and get right engaged. Let me scoot this a little bit this way. There we go. And now you'll be really glad because Leela, if you hate this cup, this saucer is a nightmare. Don't even bother with it. Don't even worry about it. We will deal with that on a much different day. Just ignore it.
Happy to ignore the saucer.
It's awful. Saucers are the hardest thing. In my mind, I find them almost impossible to draw. Like, even though and this is why I generally don't do still lifes, because I don't like plates. Things like that. They're like a pain to draw. They're a pain. I'm sure I would be better at them if I did them more, but I don't. At some point, you can actually, if I have to draw it, of course I can, but we are not going to do that today. Sandra, are you going to do anything? You get to go out and do anything fun after this? Are you doing any hiking or any, it's probably
No,
too
I'm
cold
probably-
to row.
I might. I figured I would do a 1 hour of your class and 1 hour of Lado's and then go walking. It's not nice, but
It's still kind of slushy, nasty.
it's gray and cold, but not as cold as it was.
It's
But
really,
it's not inviting to go outside. But
it's like you stole our weather or something. Portland, that is what Portland is supposed to look like this time of
and what
year.
do you have instead?
We have crisp, cold, bright,
Ah.
sunny days for the last 2 weeks.
Yes, we swapped for weather because
We
that's usually
swapped
what we
weather.
have.
What happened? Sorry, I don't know how that happened. Well, we know how that happened. Yeah, it's been glorious. It was raining and raining and raining and raining and raining for months and months. And then 2 weeks ago, when the fires started, actually, we started getting this really beautiful sunny weather. I mean, it's really cold. It's like, below freezing, but not a sign of precipitation. So it's not so bad. Hello.
This is what I love about the Northeast. This cold, crisp,
That
blue
crisp,
days,
beautiful, cold,
sunny days. Yeah.
Here, wait, here, Sandra, I'm going to pop it up. Here is Mr. Fatty. Here he is. Here's Bazoo.
Hello, Bazoo.
Bazoo.
Bazoo. Oh, he's purring. He's like, hi, everybody.
Such a
I
happy cat
landed in
now
the
that he's
Golden
found his human.
Palace. Do you know how Diana's cat is doing? Sandra, the outdoor.
No, but I told her well, he's making friends with Frank now, but of course she's got 2 more guests, so two more
Right,
people
she doesn't
living-
have time to deal with them.
No,
yet.
no, it's not that. It's just that the cat is skittish, so
Oh,
when it
yeah,
sees
you're right.
humans, it doesn't know. But
Right.
I'm hoping she can capture it soon because, God forbid, should the fires come and she evacuates, she should take him.
She should be able to take him. Yes, that's the hope. It sounds like he's pretty easily acclimated.
Well, for
No.
now, she suddenly made complete friends with her. She can pet him, and also,
That's
It's-
amazing.
it's difficult to invite him in because of Sunny.
Right, because Sunny scares.
He's going to be pretty horrified when he finds that dog inside. Although he's seen her, but on a leash.
I mean, remember how shy Julia was, and she got used to Sunny eventually, and now they play. Like, it's just a custom night. You're just getting, it just takes the cat a while. I'm glad she's able to pet him. That's pretty quick.
Well, then makes a huge difference. And now Frank is able to pet him, more importantly. Because
That's great. So Frank could technically grab him and throw him in a carrier. if he
Not
needed
really. I don't think I don't think he's that kind of guy. We'll probably leave that to Diana.
to. Yeah. There are two neat little lost edges here. One of them, and they're in the light sections, interestingly. One is here. We kind of lose the edge of the rim. And here, can you see this? How we lose the edge of the rim here? We don't get that little line here. Those are nice lost edges. Once again, not so many in a cup because there's so many strong edges to a cup, but a couple. Leela, beautiful. You're getting there. All right, let's talk about and I love the shading that the solutions in your shading that you're coming up with. They're really terrific. Let's talk a little bit. If you want to, you can erase this line here, right? And give yourself a kind of slight lost edge here. You've done it over here already very nicely. So let's look at this handle. And what we can see, I'm just trying to see. This handle has a lot going on. That's the first thing I'm going to say. These very light parts, right? And then there's a dark part. So I'm trying to show you the sketch, and I'm going to take a picture of a close-up so you can really look at it. So Leela, you can do any wonkiness that's left with your handle, you can kind of correct while looking at this shape. Here, give me a second. I'm going to send a real close-up of the handle. And you guys, we went very far in this class. I just want to really commend you. This is a massive leap that we've made. And in your understanding of drawing, it's massive. And it was really delightful to see Bobby, to see Leela, to see Ani start to grasp this concept and take it one step further. So I saw a lot of that happening. If you're feeling a little bit like, it's just because you've gone so far ahead, you're no longer in beginner territory. So just feel good about that. That means you automatically jumped and leaped. Hello, sweetheart. How you doing? I heard you're working on a card for your grandma. Can you show us? Do you want to show us? Oh, he's going to go get it. Here, hold on.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, put him in a
Let's
big view.
see. Show it.
No, pokaż.
We're ready.
Just
Can you put it up close
close
so we
up.
can see it?
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh,
I
cool,
that.
Matteo.
Oh, that's beautiful.
wow.
I like the dots.
Oh, she's going to
Wow,
cry.
many cards. Wow.
Love it. She's going to love it so much. She's going to cry.
There has to be
Woo!
five, two grandmas, grandpas,
Oh, I
and
see.
one great grandpa. So,
Oh, so there's a lot that he has
A
to
lot
be
of
making.
work.
yes.
But that's
Oh,
nice
gosh,
to have
there's
so many relatives.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Good job. And also a very, I love the way you use the dots to fill out the heart. That's a really neat and very unique way of doing it. I haven't seen it done very much. So you kind of invented something a little bit there with your marks. Good job.
Bravo, Matteo.
Yeah, bravo.
I have to
Cute.
translate a little bit because we're still on a learning curve with English,
With the English.
since he accepted English like 1 year ago, more or less. But it's still.
Oh, he's
process.
only bilingual right now, right? He only knows Polish and Italian. So
Yeah. Yeah,
Gosh.
yeah. He gets a lot already, but
Yeah.
but it's still a process.
And difficult to speak. Yeah, there's a stage where you can understand, but don't necessarily
Mhm.
speak.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So that happens first. I guess that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
And you
makes
don't necessarily get to the other stage. I mean,
to the
unless you,
vocalization stage.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna see my granddaughter next week, who is, or my boyfriend's granddaughter, sort of mine by association. And she's like 2.5 now, and she was totally speaking in tones, but using very few words when I saw her last. So I'm like, I bet she's talking now. 6 months, hopefully, or maybe not. Maybe she's just still doing that hilarious
how old is she?
blah blah. She's 2.5.
Oh, okay.
And she was quite vocal early, but not using words, but like she kind of mimicked how
Making
our
sounds, yeah.
conversations like sounded. It's a lot of blah 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 blah. No. Blah 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 blah. Down.
Yeah,
She's very
but for some reason, kids love the word no, and it's like
maybe it's
Presumably
easy to
It's
it's
say.
because they're told that all the time.
most probably.
Oh my God, that's right.
Don't touch. So,
Oh my God, that's so true.
And that is the way we exert power on them. So
Right. So they learn it back quick.
they learn how to try to
Yes.
exert power on us.
The brain is an amazing thing.
Mm.
Very efficient when you think about it. Oh,
There's an
Bobby.
old, I was going to say there's an old French song which I really like. I mean, it's old because it was when I was a kid, and it was don't do this, don't do that, you know.
Mm.
And it's like these whole things that you're told as a kid, like don't do this, don't do that, don't go there, don't. And it's this constant thing. We're not aware of it as adults. But
So Bobby, one of the things I wanted, yes, absolutely. The no, don't do this, don't do that. I love the shading here. I think you've got your handle shaped just perfectly. You forgot your lip here. So you need to pull that, maybe with an eraser, you need to pull that back in. Also, notice that your coffee is kind of going this way, and really it should come down a little bit more, right? Like that. So take your eraser and see if you can shape out some of those lights. Otherwise, very nice. You're getting it, absolutely getting it. And your handle is perfectly shaped. So once you've done that, you're ready to approach the handle. Great work. Also, I can't believe you do this at like 10:30 at what is it, 11:30 now? 11:30?
Yeah, 11:30.
11:30 at night. Are you a night person at least?
Who my work
knows?
are also in ET, so I'm used to staying up to 1.
Oh God. Like by 11:30 at night, I couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't
but
do
that's because you're an early riser.
right. Yeah, just
When
can't.
I couldn't at 11:30 at night. I like the daylight to paint.
But you're kind of, because of your swing shift, you're kind of done around 11:30, right?
I kind
Sandra?
of, yeah, work a late shift. So, well, now it's only 2 to 9.
Oh,
But
that's
by
a
the-
really decent.
But my brain is kind of fried by the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's time to like end the day. Start the day.
And I love painting in daylight, being able to drink a coffee. And if it's at night, you can't really do that.
Can you guys believe it? Well, Lotto's going to start rolling in here in a minute or two. We're almost at the end of class. You can keep working on this if you want to. Just stay with Lotto and keep going. I'll hang out till he gets here, but I will probably stop the recording.